TV, Imam Hussein TV 3. You are watching Light Our Nights, specifically dedicated tonight to the birth of our awaited Savior, Imam al-Mahdi Ajjallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. Light Our Nights is essentially a bit of a discussion, a deep-ish discussion with public figures who are within the artistic expression for the Ahlulbayt alayhi salam. So I've interviewed in the past, last couple of days, I've interviewed poets, I've interviewed Quranic reciters, I've interviewed nasheed and normal reciters, so nasheed and latmiyat reciters, and I've interviewed a public speaker, right? And we've been receiving essentially a bit of a discourse or a step-by-step guide as to what thought process that these people go through from preparation, so invitation, up until they get up onto the minbar and on the pulpit, and what is their thought process there? How do they do what they do so that they can deliver the message of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam from paper or from mind to the heart of the audience? And then joining me today as a special friend of mine who I've known for a very long time, and I've seen his progression and I've seen his development, and someone who I genuinely love his style of recitation, and so I'm joined by Sayyid Hadi Al-Gubanshi. Assalamu alaikum, Sayyid Hadi.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. As'adallah ayyamakum Mulla. I'd like to first of all thank Imam Hussein TV for this kind invite, and for yourself for hosting such a lovely show as always.
Thank you.
It's always nice to see your bubbly character and your down-to-earth self that teaches us as students of the pulpit of Ahlul Bayt to always be humble no matter how much our star shines.
Inshallah.
So with that being said, I'd like to also congratulate you and the blessed viewers on the auspicious occasion of the birth of the Imam of our time, Imam al-Hujjah al-Muntazar Ajjallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. And with that being said, I'd like to extend a further gratitude to yourself, bro.
Thank you very much, Sayyid. Really appreciate it. And of course, look, before this whole Corona situation, we always see each other, and when we do, there's a genuine love and admiration, and there's also a genuine care in each other's livelihoods, what's going on, what's not going on, and I, again, when it comes to the recitation world, look, we all learn from each other. How would we say, Ana latum jawa idiak, numerous times.
It's my honor, bro. And it's my honor. I'd like to just tell your viewers that my first recitation, in fact, was the first time I actually met Mulla Ali was on a trip with, I forgot now the group. We went on a trip to somewhere, Lake District or something, and they were asking someone to recite, and I thought, yeah, I want to recite. And so everyone was saying, no, Mulla Ali's going to recite. They didn't call him Mulla back then.
Wow.
So I was baffled. I didn't really know, like, why are they getting him to recite? They've not heard my voice. Then later on, I discovered that Mulla Ali was actually a Mulla. And I was just begging it. So from then I learned a very good lesson, which is to keep it quiet.
أبد سيد والله يعني تخجلنا, sorry, Said.
No, بالعكس, bro. You're my older brother, and I will forever learn from you. Whether it's from life experiences or through the recitations, I look up to you as a person.
Inshallah, we set a good example. For
you always
and,
do, Mulla Ali.
Thank you.
You always do, Mulla Ali.
So look, Sayyid, today is all about you. I wanna get into your mind a bit and find out a bit more about what makes you tick, what makes you really be able to perform on the stage. So first and foremost, I'd love a bit of a background regarding Sayyid Hadi. Where how did it all start, and where are you now?
Sure. I'm going to give you the typical cliche that everyone gives, which is that the parents are within this field. So in a nutshell, I have a Lebanese/Syrian/Iraqi background, in the sense that my father's Iraqi, mother's Lebanese, and I was born and raised in Syria, and I lived between Syria and Lebanon up until approximately 11 years old. I came to this country, and the upbringing was here. Now, I grew up in this area of Sayyidah Zainab salamullahi alayha. So around the shrine of Sayyidah Zainab, my school was around the shrine of Sayyidah Ruqayya salamullahi alayha. And it was only normal for us to be a part of the mawakib and serving in any way possible. The service of Ahlulbayt was just a generic title under which we aspire to always participate in any events that take place. So I didn't actually used to recite back then. I used to listen to the tapes that my mother and my father used to play at home. And my main passion was the dammamat, the drums, and the barazan and the tos. And when there used to be the mashaq and everything like that, we used to be heavily involved in this. Wearing our akfan and everything, and I was only a little young kid with silly broken glasses that used to bring the dammam and just in the middle of everyone. And then a and everything.
So hold on, you grew up familiar with all of the rituals that we see in the Husseyniyat here in London, yani?
Yes.
The Iraqi, so the Iraqi 100%. Style of Shisma, that's amazing.
Yeah, I used to be involved in a Husseyniyah called the Siddiq al-Tahira. And that was run by Sheikh Jalal al-Saghir. And there was a Husseyniyah, and that was this is meant to be a Najafi Husseyniyah. And then I was involved in a Karbala'i Husseyniyah called Mu'assis Ahlulbayt, which was run by Sayyid Shubbar Allah Rahmah. And there I had my equipment, and there I had my equipment. I had my Naqara, which was my size. I was very small.
That was brilliant, man.
So in a nutshell, Mulla Ali, just to bring this to a wrap, so I don't bore you and bore the audience.
I bet.
My father and my mother both come from a family of ulama, of mu'ammamin, like your blessed father and your blessed family. You know, they are, mashallah, and some of them have reached the stage of ijtihad, which is something it's a big responsibility, to be honest with you, Mullah Ali. That's it in a nutshell. Yani. After that, I came to the UK, and to be honest with you, I was detached from this whole world. And one story I'll tell you, which is that there used to be 3 seasons when I used to buy clothes. And my mother used to take me by my hand, and my father, and they used to take me to buy clothes. One was for winter, one was for summer, and the school period, and the third was in Muharram. So my mother used to take me to the best shop that I used to love, and used to buy me the chifiyah that I loved, the arakchin that I loved, and the shirt. I used to have a specific black shirt and black trousers. And I didn't need anything to wear on my feet, because it was all barefooted during the service of Imam al-Hussein at that age. And inshallah, we aspire to always continue to be blessed with the service of Ahlulbayt.
And so where are you now when it comes to the world of recitations?
So Mullah Ali, I'm a student still. And I'm a very small student in a very big school. I'm a student to the person that listens and gives an opinion. A student to the person that does latam and gives an opinion. I'm a student to the people who listen and don't give an opinion or even contribute to the majalis that we're in. And by that, I mean people who are far away from the school of Ahlulbayt. Because the message of Imam al-Hussein is much wider than the Iraqi accent. It's much wider than the English language, and it's much wider than the region that we're in, or that we grew up in, which is the Middle East, or the UK itself. So that's where I'm at, if that answers your question, Mullah Ali.
Okay, fantastic. So walk me through the process. So in terms of majalis, I'm pretty sure that you're still very much involved when it comes to anashid and latmiyat. Oh, am I right?
So that's you're raising a very pivotal point, and that is that has created a massive reflection point or turning point for myself.
Okay.
In the service of Ahlulbayt. As you know, we have very close conversations, you and I, especially about the service of Ahlulbayt. And as you know, we've had many conversations about me potentially stopping, starting. Do I continue? Do I not?
So just before we get onto that, I want to make it known to the audience that Sayyid Hadi, for a period of what, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 years, a long time, since I can remember last time, back in the Shah Sultan days, would perform albums, deliver and develop albums, videos. He'd always, at every single munasabah, every single occasion, there was Sayyid Hadi reciting in different centers. So his world was anashid, so happy occasions, and for the sad occasions, it was latmiyat, right? And this is Sayyid Hadi as well. So are we talking about a different world now, Sayyid?
Yes. So the world is so as you know, in every single book you read, there are chapters and there are headings and there are subheadings.
Yeah.
The major heading in or the title of the book that we're talking about, you and I, at the moment, Mulla Ali, is called the Service of Ahlulbayt, Service of Imam al-Hussein. The Service of Imam al-Hussein comes under many subheadings. Not only do they come under recitations, nor do they only come under latam, nor do they only come under carrying out a theatrical act for the service of Ahlul Bayt. No, it goes way beyond that. It goes as small as shedding a tear on your own by listening to a majlis of about Abdullah al-Hussein. That is called you are Khadim al-Hussein. You don't have to be always under the spotlight for you to be a servant of Imam al-Hussein. With that being said, Mullah, Al-Imam al-Sadiq salamullahi alayh says, which is a hadith sharif, hadith Qudsi, يعني, it may not be Imam al-Sadiq, but I'm pretty sure it's Imam al-Sadiq, and the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, التفكر ساعة خير من عبادة سنة. 1 hour of reflection is better than a year of worship, and that's salah, saum, zakah, hajj, sadaqah, whatever you think, the wajib and the mustahab.
Yeah.
Now, the pulpits of these are introductions, and I'll go into the main body shortly. The pulpits that we see is not just a piece of wood with steps that a Maulana comes and sits on top just to give a talk. No. This pulpit is the pulpit that the holy feet of the Prophet ﷺ stepped upon. Therefore, not any, as they say, any Tom, Dick and Harry can go and approach that pulpit with full confidence and raise his voice on that pulpit to the people to preach. Because at the end of the day, the poems that we recite are a lecture on their own. However, they just embrace your emotions in a much quicker method. Now, if we're saying that the service of Ahlul Bayt is bigger than recitations, if we're saying Imam al-Sadiq is saying that the reflection is pivotal, and if we're saying that the pulpit is holy, that means we need to look at ourselves before we can go and approach that pulpit. Not because my father is Fulan or my mother is Fulan or my family name is X. It means, and I'm given the opportunity to serve, I just take that opportunity with no questions being asked. No. I need to be sifting my character, sifting the fine lines. And I'll wrap up with this point, Mullah, and if you want me to elaborate, I'm happy to. The point here is there are many fine lines that we can fall into when we are under the spotlight. There's a fine line between me trying to reach the audience by creating several social media accounts, and a fine line between that and vanity. There's a fine line between me wanting to look presentable for Imam al-Hussein and me wanting to look presentable for the audience. There's a fine line between me thinking that what I'm reading is beneficial for the audience and what I'm reading is actually only from a musical perspective sounds good. All of that is a massive burden on our shoulders as people who call themselves the servants of Imam al-Hussein, and we aspire to be even given that title of Khadim. That title is the biggest title I can get myself. I speak for myself. So that's the reason, Mullah, I decided to take many steps back, for me to let go of everything I built, as you mentioned, and the small work that I built, whether it's the albums, whether it's the recitations, whether it's the publicity or whatever it is. I decided to let go.
It's all part of the big chapter.
Yeah. Accent. I let go of everything for me to really take a step back and have a bird's eye view on my actions, on my character, the way I carry myself, on my intentions, and how I can identify the fine lines, and two, avoid what's negative from those fine lines. And alhamdulillah wa shukr, with the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Ahlulbayt and the Ridha al-Walidain, of course, and with the guidance of many people, whether it's directly or indirectly, I have come to a conclusion that no, my forte is the service of Ahlulbayt through recitation. It's not just only through doing things in the background, etc., that I was doing during the periods that I was not reciting. And that's, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our a'mal in any case.
Fantastic. So the bird's eye view that you took, and the let's just say the metaphorically speaking, the hour of thinking that you did, you concluded, look, this is me. Like, I'm not, my fine lines, I know where they are exactly. And so in your world, no, this, like, reciting, my passion of reciting for the Ahlulbayt alayhi salam is what I am, and is what I want to do. Is that the conclusion then?
Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, the a'mal are accepted, and I aspire to serve the Ahlulbayt in the best way possible.
Inshallah.
And inshallah, sallallahu al-qabul.
So Sayyid, looking back to the times where you were reciting, and just if we can take one as an example, I think I'd like to focus more on the ratha aspect, the martyrdom occasions or the sad occasions. So let's take it from the beginning. You get a phone call or a message or whatever it was. Assalamu alaikum, Sayyid. We'd like you to honor us with your presence of reciting for the martyrdom of so-and-so Imam. Please, we'd be honored to see you on this day and this time. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum. What goes through your mind initially? What's the first?
First of all, the default settings is that I'm available. The default settings is ba'ain, on my eye.
Yeah.
So the default settings is I'm inshallah going to be committed. However, there are practical points to consider. One is, do I have any family or work commitments? Because as you know, we don't take the recitation as a means of income. Our means of income is our own professional career. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yuhibbu abdahu al-qawi. Whether it's qawi through finances, whether it's qawi through academia, or whether it's qawi through ibadah. But in any case, you need to be strong. And their strength is, you strengthening your family and making sure that you have a means of income for you to help others and be a helping hand, inshallah. So family commitments and work commitments, and the next stage after that is potentially the relevance of the dates of the event to the calendar month, the Hijri calendar month, to understand, what is the event relevant. The next step after that, I'd say, am I booked, for example? Do I have any other bookings? What is the requirement of the person inviting, the center? Do they want me to recite in English and Arabic, or is it just English? Or just Arabic? And based on that, I would have to have a big thought, as you know. Of course, the duration of the recitations, and of course, understanding the crowd that they have. That's all based on the fact that all the other boxes are tick, 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 tick.
Yeah.
What sort of crowd is it? What's the age group? And I'd probably watch, I try to search the center and look at previous events just to understand what the flow of the majlis is. Of course, yes. Just to see, this wouldn't be a deal breaker, by the way. This would be actually part of the preparation stage. Maybe I shot the gun. What's it called?
Actually don't know.
Musaddas.
There's a shot in there somewhere.
I jumped the gun, that's it.
Jumped the gun.
Then, that would be the initial thinking process behind the invite. So it's the practicalities. I don't want to get all philosophical about it.
Yeah. No. Okay, that makes sense, because a lot of people some people. This is the first time I actually heard looking at videos of previous events there, because I think the good thing about that is to see maybe how many people turn up, what are you playing with in terms of the amount of people maybe there, the sound system, maybe audio visual, these kind of little practical steps, practical things. And also, just to get a feel and the vibe of the audience, because at the end of the day, as much as it is service, we have to try and make sure that the service is given in a complete and high quality way, because the only way we can affect people's hearts and minds is if we give it to them properly. Otherwise, if we don't that's why there's preparation. We prepare for the words and the tune and the melody so that we can deliver something that's meaningful and also has an effect on them, and so that they can seek closeness to that Imam and ultimately it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so that's the kind of criteria that you've placed upon the person that's inviting you, and you've accepted. So talk to me about now the preparation process in terms of the poetry, and let's now discuss Arabic versus English. What are your? I know that you have a bit of concerns about this area.
So I wouldn't say concerns, Mulla. I would say I have. I did an internship in the US, and one of the main feedback I got at the end of the internship was, you are very passionate. Now, being passionate is a double-edged sword, right? Because it can either mean that you can be too hasty in your actions, or it could mean that no, you're actually so passionate that you can be a perfectionist in a specific area, right? Now, that made me think. Again, it goes back to the point about reflection. It's very important to reflect. Well, as you know, having that, so I've lost my point, subhanAllah.
Reflection, you did an internship.
Yes. So it comes to the feedback that I got on the internship, which is that you burn stages, basically, in other words. So they told me you burn stages. That's how I interpreted it. Passionate potentially means you burn stages in everything we do. You can't skip 5 steps in a staircase, bro. You have to do it one by one for you to make sure that you reach the top in the right manner. Now, my forte is Arabic. Before I was a reciter in the field of lamentations and Anashid, I used to go into competitions of Quran recitations in Hawza, in Syria. That was my forte, Arabic. So when it comes to English and applying the melodies, the Arabic melodies of the seven maqamat, 8 maqamat, applying them to the English language is a little bit odd. That's how I felt. I'm not saying it is, but that's the impression I got at first. Two, what is the, you need to think about the crowd. If you want to talk about business terms, you need to look at your target market. Your target market is a niche market, which is English-speaking Iraqis.
Yeah.
Right? It's not even English-speaking Shia. Because when it comes to English-speaking Shia, you're talking about Khojas, you're talking about all sorts of different cultures. Yeah. And they have their own melodies, in fact. So why can't you apply their melodies on top of the English poetry? Correct? But I'm not good at that. So if I can't, I'm not.
It's not your culture, is it? It's not what you're associated. Yeah.
100%. Now, does my culture accept what I'm doing? That's the other thing. Are they receptive to it? Now, of course, the thinking process of others shouldn't drive my decision-making process. Yeah. However, I go back to the burning stages and the business example. In economic terms, there's a strategy called diversification, right?
Yeah.
Now, diversification means that every product has a life cycle. Correct, Mulla?
Yeah. I'm with you. Sorry. Maybe
now,
just
no worries. Now, product life cycle means that as soon as you reach the point, think of it as a visual, as a line graph. As soon as it reaches a retention stage or a stage where it's all flat, it means the product is either going to dip or is going to remain flat. Now, you want your profits, of course, this is associated with profits. You want your profits to continue to rise. But how do you do it? You need to introduce a new product, right? This is when you diversify. Now, I can't be dipping my toes into different areas when I haven't solidified or cemented my true identity in the field of recitation. My true identity is Arabic recitation, and yes, I'm an English-speaking British citizen. Yes, 100%. But I'm not familiar with the musical or melodical side of things in the English culture. I need to learn it, and like I learned the Arabic, I need to learn the English a little bit and move on. Funny enough, that being said, I actually recorded a qasida for Layali al-Fatimiyya that just passed in English. Inshallah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
And I wrote the poem and everything, and I recorded it, and I didn't release it. And the reason for that is because of the fine lines. My target market is the English-speaking Shia plus the non-Shia. That's my target market. However, this clashes with my identity. I felt on that basis, I decided to reserve it, put it aside, and potentially think about the stages that I need to pass prior to me releasing such a thing.
Said, I'm sorry, there's a bit of a technical issue. Can you still hear me?
I can fully hear you, Mulla.
Okay, cool. I'm just a bit worried. iPhone. Sorry, there's just been a bit of a technical. You can still hear me loud and clear, yeah?
Yeah. All good. Can you hear me?
Okay. I can. Yeah, I can. All right, cool. Sorry, Said, yeah.
So I was just saying, there needs to be, I need to cement my character, my true character as a reciter first, my image, my identity, call it my ID card. Once that's cemented, I will move on to it. So I don't have any reservations about reciting in English. It's more that I want to serve in the best way possible. And I would like to learn from people like yourself, Mulla, in that area. And,
to be honest with you, Said, I kind of went through the same thought process. I'll be honest with you, and it is a bit of an eye opener when you realize that, to a certain extent, and this is kind of delving into the kind of deepest, darkest thoughts of my mind. When I did really, I kind of delved into the world of Western melodies. Then I delved into that world. I wanted to be. I had enough of the feedback from the Iraqis who I was reciting to when it comes to English. Okay? And their feedback. Look, at the end of the day, when you speak to your friends, they're the first line of feedback that we get. The genuine feedback that we get from people on social media and stuff it's all nice, but it's not something that I can use
It's not constructive. It's not.
Do you know what I mean?
The word is not constructive. It's not value adding.
There's no. I can't use that to my benefit. Like, it's nice. It's very, very nice to hear. But I can't use that to make what I'm doing better. Yeah. And the first line of feedback that we get, unfortunately or fortunately, is our friends. And our friends are maybe the mayana that we have. They can tell it to us straight, and they can tell it to us honestly. Ali, that was rubbish. Yeah? Or Ali, that was really good. Or Ali, that was. But it's still not feedback from a person or from people that are maybe experts in the field. And I think I made the mistake of not reaching out to experts in the field. But there were no experts in the field of English, real English stuff, that I could reach out to and say, look, am I on the right track here? Maybe there is, or there was, but I didn't reach them, or I didn't actively look for them. I think the mistake that I made was that this is an idea, and I'm just going to go for it. Yeah? Because it opened up a whole world of the Western side, and then I fell into another mistake of trying to mix the two together. Then I want to try and mix the Western world and the Eastern world, not in just words or the language, but I tried to mix them up with the whole culture, yani. So I tried to do a Western melody, Zain, but tried to put Arabic onto that, rather than vice versa. Because before I was used to the Arabic melodies and trying to fit English into this. But it doesn't work both ways, yani. But I can see where you're going. I can see what you're saying when it comes to, first and foremost, let me solidify who I am, my identity. I identify with Arabic. أنا أحن يا ربي أحن العربي. I want to go to Arabic, but sometimes I feel like there's a bit of a responsibility, just from my sense. And I feel like outside of the Iraqi line that I have, they got a bit of the feedback that I get from them, from the mothers that say, you know what, Mulla Ali, the qasida that you wrote, for example, or you did about Fatima Zahra or Imam Hussein, my kid listened to it. When I hear that, I'm like, maybe I should do English. No matter how, to me, silly it may sound, but to that mother or that parent, you know what I mean, it may have a bit of an effect. But there's
totally agree.
There's so much to think about.
Definitely.
That's you're right. Well, sometimes you take a step back and think about it. But yeah, tell me a bit more about the thought process that you went through when it comes to English and
so تفضل عفو.
No, I was going to say, have you implemented English within some of the work that you've done, or?
Yeah, so my first album, which was Awsa' Safina Hussein at the time, that was in 2011, 2012. And I recall actually coming to you for advice at the time, in order for us to think about where is, the practical points of recording. Now, within that album, I recorded one English qasida for brother Nouri Sardar, which was Every Moment. I recorded that poem, Every Moment, for Nouri in the first album. And I just wanted to try it. But then because the album had numerous Arabic tracks, that one English one didn't do me any. It was like market testing. Sorry, I can't help but keep bringing these terms, but that's what I know.
No, that's good.
It was like market testing. I did the market testing. It was liked. However, I felt that I leaned more towards Arabic, and the conflict continues. As you said, there is a responsibility towards the non-Arabic speaking crowd, whether they're Arabic or not. And two, there's a responsibility towards the message of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. It's our responsibility for us to ensure that it reaches as far as possible, and not be the people who put barriers to it. So on that basis, I would say that it's important to consider it. However, the priority is that we cement, you need to cement your foundations, cement your identity. And as you said earlier about the sound system in a center, you need to be comfortable in order for you to deliver that message of Ahlulbayt. In the same way, you need to be comfortable in that event. You need to be comfortable with yourself, and that would, eventually lead to you being able to deliver the message in the best way possible with your comfort, and that's where the real creativity comes.
Yes. Sayyidina, are you still with me?
I'm totally with you.
I really am sorry. There was just my phone was
Don't be sorry.
Really acting up. I'm not sure what you saw, what you didn't see.
I didn't see anything. What I saw was your beauty.
Was it just black? Or
it just showed Skype.
Okay, that's good. Because I was fiddling with the phone and like.
Don't worry.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm really sorry about that. Okay, cool.
Don't be sorry, Habibi, Ghali.
Yeah, look.
So the conclusion, in case you missed it, the conclusion is.
I was hearing about. I was actually trying to find out where do you feel like English fits in?
Where do I feel like English?
When it comes to Latmiyat, maybe, or Nasheed in that sense, where do you see it fitting in?
Mulla, let's take it back to basics. Yeah. If we want to talk about the whole school of the service of Ahlulbayt in poetry, yeah, let's go all the way back to Hamza or Watan, and the poets at the time, Abud Ghafla, and I can't remember their names if I'm honest. I won't claim to say I know all of them. Their poetry is very basic. It's as simple as this. Fatima al-Zahra, Salamullahi alayha, was attacked and her ribs were broken, and Muhsin was killed, and Imam Ali alayhi salam was tied with the wasiyah. That was the poem. That was it. It was very basic. Between then and now, there has been a timeline. And during that timeline, there has been a lot of creativity added to it. Mathalan, you see Mulla Basim. Mulla Basim didn't straight away start saying Khattar Jani Ya Ahl Bayta. Mulla Basim started Inta Nibras al-Karama. Inta Nibras al-Karama. بس لك تحلى الزعام. هالصوت من قلبي المحب يعتلي للموت نهتف يا علي يا علي. That's how he started. It wasn't straight away Khattar Jani. It wasn't straight away Ya Qarura. No. Many years of development. That being said, Mullah, we need to apply that same kind of theory. I'm not saying we need to strip away the current day and age that we're in and the modernization from the English world. No, because the message of Ahlulbayt is modern. However, in the eyes of the recipient of the message, it's an infant message. On that basis, because it's an infant message in their understanding and in their receptivity, that's how we approach it. So we come with the description of what happened, and the melody needs to be descriptive as well, because your question was about preparation originally. Depending on the type of poem, whether it's informative, whether it's inquisitive, whether it's a story, whether it's a factual poem, your melody comes together. Same way in the English world, you can apply it and deliver it in the best way possible.
Okay, fantastic. So look, bringing all this together in terms of your preparation for the majlis itself. Let's just now say that, look, you're at the event, Zian. The na'i is just finished. There's no formal introduction for the radud, for the reciter. It's usually the culture within the Iraqi world is one goes down, Zian, and then the other comes up, Ayahsayam Saba, and then everything starts. So from your perspective, as soon as the na'i, and I have my own bit of fears or nerves or something like that, but from your side, when the na'i has finished and you start the dua, what goes through your head? Say it.
So first of all, butterflies at all times.
Yeah.
I can never deny the fact that even me sitting here in front of you, besides the fact that you're Mulla Ali Fadhil, just being in a show, just being in anything to do with being under the spotlight. I don't like the spotlight, if I'm honest, Mulla. I actually don't. It takes a lot out of me for me to use social media. I don't like all these things. However, this is the world that we're in, and we need to elevate to that kind of development that the Western world has forced us to get into. And it's positive anyway. المهم فملاتي حبيبي سؤالك كان أنه what happens when you go up. First of all, butterflies definitely. Second of all is فاتحة الأم البنين. فاتحة الأم البنين and لقضاء الحوائج. If I know if my mother's sick, if I know someone's sick, I dedicate the whole recitation to those people. And I know this is based on the fact that if you pray for your brother, it's as if you prayed for yourself. And with that, I'm in a way indirectly asking for tawfiq, but in a very cheeky way, because I'm getting hopefully double the thawab. Then after that, Mullah, is the lahan. All that's in my mind is the alhan. As you know, we don't read one poem, we read 3 poems.
Yeah.
And all that's in my head is the poem, the lahan, the lahan, the lahan. And two things that I'd like to allude to. One is throughout the preparation, there comes a lot of reading that I do. I read around the event.
Okay.
I find a book, I find lectures, whatever, and I try to understand the whole event and its importance. And if it is important, what specific aspects are the strongholds. Then after that, I try to emotionally attach myself to this whole thing. And based on that, I would then decide on what the poem is going to be and what the lahan is going to be. Either I request the sha'ar to write something for me, or the sha'ar sends me a poem that's already written, and I put the lahan to it. And subject to what the poem is, if it's inquisitive, it has a specific type of lahan that I put.
Okay.
If it's descriptive and factual, it has a different type of lahan that I'd like to put. And you need to consider the crowd, as I previously said. But one major point that I do is I try to learn the poem off by heart. So I do the tashkil and everything. I try to learn the verses off by heart and make sure that I never slip up with a letter, because one letter can change the whole meaning. And that poor poet Khatiya, he's been doing hours of work, if not days of work, for him to write that one verse. And it's my responsibility for me to bring it to life through the melody, through my body language, through my head movement, anything you can think of.
That's what I wanted to kind of get into. So now that you're actually on the minbar itself and you've got the mic, you've got the attention of the audience, what goes through your mind then? Aside from because I know that pain, and there's been many occasions where I've totally forgot the lahan.
Improvise on the minbar.
Improvise on the minbar, right? Yeah, it's got to be done.
And you just don't think halfway through the poem, you're like, oh yeah, it is that. I can't go back to it.
So what goes through your head, Sayyid? How do you then cope with, for example, the nerves and the lahan, and then be able to really do justice to the poem in front of you?
So first of all, I fight the nerves that I'm feeling. And I fight the nerves by proving to my inner self that I am on this pulpit. I am in control of the crowd. I'm in control of what's happening around me, whether it's the Lattam's hand, whether it's the Lattam's eye contact. Is he looking at me? Is he looking elsewhere? Is he talking? So with the control of the whole event, that's when I feel at ease. And of course, there needs to be a mic check at the beginning, but it has to be done in a way that it isn't too obvious.
Yeah.
So you speak in your normal voice and hear yourself back. Okay, I can hear myself. This is the tone I need to start at now. And you just kick off. And what you do for you to make sure that you don't flop is you make sure that you repeat the mustahil a couple of times. And if you feel like you flopped, do salawat and repeat again. And that's it.
Well, to be honest with you, people underestimate how much pressure there is on a radud to get the lahan right. And I'll tell you what, I've never said this before, and I think because we're being quite honest in our discussion, you know, rawadid who are let's just say made it right, and that their whole livelihood, their lifestyle, everything about what they do week to week, day to day is poems, alhan, speaking to different poets, booking studio times and recording different. That's their lifestyle. Yeah, these people when they go to an event, Said, and I'm sure you've seen it. When they go to an event, then they've got the latama 100 200 300 واحد قدامه. They've got 100 200 300 people in front of him. Okay, then he's got the sound system has to be the best. He's got the full range. You can hear yourself. You can hear yourself. Your conscious will be able to hear itself. That's how close it is, right? He's got everything مرتب for him. So there's no other worry but to make sure that the poem is right and the lahan is right. And when us two we started off, you know, you start off in different events where maybe people don't really know you and they're not really interested, and it's demoralizing. I'll be very honest, it's demoralizing. The amount of people, for example, who walk out of a majlis, or when it's time for the latom, they just leave, or they talk and stuff, and you feel like I've worked so much on this poem and I put my heart and soul into it, then, and I feel like, well, what's going wrong? What am I doing that's wrong? That's not just me. So there's a lot that we have to think about starting off in places that isn't ready made for latom. Maybe we need to kind of manage our expectations and understand the culture of majalis in the West. Maybe we need to do that, right? Because the majalis in the East is ready made for latom. These people, that's their life. That's their life. Yeah. But us, we struggled, man. We struggled.
I can't agree more, Mulla. I can't.
You know what I mean?
You just touched on a very sensitive nerve.
we struggle big time, yani, from people listening, from the mic and everything like that.
The mic, the camera, yani, Mulla, look, how much time do we have, by the way? I don't want to be overloading you.
We've got until 30 past, but I really want to hear your voice as well, because you ملامح حطيتني, but I want to get more from it.
حبيبي ملا رحمة الله والديك. So the struggle is
it's real.
Let me put it this way. I have overcome the major point of expectation from the center. Not because I don't have the confidence that the center can do. However, there are only certain capabilities that each center has, and the crowd, the people that manage it have. And based on their capabilities, I set my expectations. So what I do is I started to identify the center that I'm going to. That's why I watch it.
Yeah. Hello? 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 Hey, you there?